All right, welcome everyone to today's edition of Freelance Coffee, a podcast series where we interview the most successful online freelancers. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt Keener, and I've been freelancing online for about a decade now. And you can learn more about me and my story over at executiveinsweatpants.com. Today we're interviewing Edith Lepine, a top-rated freelance medical writer. So welcome to the show today, Edith.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. So Edith, I was looking at your stats on Upwork before the call here, and since you joined Upwork as a freelancer, you've already successfully worked on more than 30 jobs, and you've earned the Upwork top-rated badge on your profile, which is exciting, and you've also maintained a 100% job success score. Before we get into how you've achieved those great milestones, maybe you could just briefly talk about how you got into freelancing and a little bit more about your background.
Okay, cool. Be happy to share. So I literally didn't even remember how long I've been on Upwork. It's just that crazy. Time flies so fast, but I looked it up. I looked at my very first job on Upwork, and that was back in 2016. So it's been quite a few years now. And I remember at that time I was employed full-time by one of the major pharmaceutical companies in the world. And, but I had, you know how it is when you have a calling in your heart. I knew that I needed an exit plan. So this is the reason as to why I started freelancing. But just to share a little bit about my background, I guess it would make sense for me to attach. I have 10 years of experience in the pharmaceutical and medical industry. When I got started, it was in 2004. I had the biggest hopes that I would be able to impact people's life in a big way, right? So obviously I thought I was bringing awesome medications to all kinds of doctors, to top of the line medications and therapeutic options to help people get better from whatever illness they have and whatever medication I would have in my bag. But fast forward 10 years, which is a really fast forward, just when I think about it, I started to feel like I needed another challenge or I needed a change. I felt like the corporate America was choking me. So I really wanted to test my wings in other areas and find a way to get out. And obviously your story is similar, I believe, to mine in that sense. Is it, Matt?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I started out in the corporate world and then started working for a startup that was kind of a spinoff of the corporate world. And but yeah, I've always been more. I've kind of felt like this entrepreneurial call, and didn't know exactly how to realize that until I started freelancing.
Exactly. That's why I'm so incredibly grateful to Upwork and to this platform because it makes it so easy. I think, would you agree? It's incredibly easy if you take the leap. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like when you first put your name out there, in an hour or less through the Upwork platform specifically, I mean, a little bit of hard work, you can make your profile and you could have people wanting to talk to you in an afternoon of just getting things together, right?
Exactly. Absolutely agreed.
So you felt that challenge and that call to try to do something different. What is it? How did you decide, of all the things that you could do, how did you decide to kind of get into this medical writing? Is that where you started, I guess, on the freelance side, or did you just put your name out there in general?
Great question. Probably as like most people, I started more general, right? So jack of all trades kind of a writer. But since I was super interested in health and wellness, because if you think about my professional experience, having been a drug rep for 10 years, I had conversations about diseases and disease management day in and day out, about all kinds of heavy, depressing things that people are dealing with all day. Yeah. And I got intrigued by, okay, I'm not having conversation about health. How can we prevent diseases from forming? So I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of self-studying and self-education about health and wellness. So I actually started in the health and wellness writing space. I that was my area. I wanted to kind of feel more fulfilled in that regard. So I'm not always talking about diseases during the day, but I could write about health and prevention, disease prevention at night for
Awesome.
other people.
How did you make that pivot? A lot of people start off where they don't know what their specialty is, and they just create a profile like, I'm sure I'm guilty of that too. Like, just I'm interested in doing marketing, and then I've kind of refined myself into doing some writing and strategy.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you say, all right, I've got to focus on what I really know, which is the medical writing piece?
That came for me. It took a couple of years because first I just wanted to try my wings, right? Wanted to see what kind of a value can I provide to my clients outside of that traditional corporate environment of pharmaceutical sales. But obviously, with my background, having worked with doctors for so many years and have gone through all these rigorous training provided by pharma, which I am also grateful for. I have a tremendous knowledge of the healthcare space, the medical terminology and things like that, and diseases, which is always a hot topic, I guess, unfortunately these days. But it took me a while to realize that, hey, maybe I need to laser focus because I was pretty vague and broad in my approach. And as I've been, just like you had the entrepreneurial spirit in you, same with me. So I was doing a lot of education and trying to see those people who are succeeding. And I'm like, okay, niching is key. Niching. So like, what should I niche in, or what area I should focus on? And obviously, I think the easiest way is if you can marry your passion and your talent, right? So if you can marry the two, that's usually a recipe for success. That's what I
Awesome.
found. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that part of it is it's an internal thing. You're more motivated to go out and keep doing something that you're passionate about. But I think also you deliver more value to clients whenever you're leveraging your greatest skill. And for you, you've had that decade plus of experience in a specific industry. And let's be honest, healthcare, pharma, that's a big part of our economy. So there's a lot of there's a lot of businesses trying to sell into that space. There's a lot of,
Exactly.
software platforms that are kind of helping that space become more successful. So it makes perfect sense, especially in a world where a lot of people kind of position themselves, generally speaking. So did you find that when you made that decision to kind of focus, let me ask you, how did you make that decision? Did you just start seeking out jobs on Upwork that seemed to be for medical writers, or did you just kind of update your profile and then people started finding you because of that, or was it a combination of both?
Combination of both.
Okay.
You're right on, because I was noticing as to what kind of invitations I'm getting, but I've been tweaking my profile a lot. So it's the profile that you see on Upwork today it's not the way it was initially. It changed a lot. I rewrote that many times.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a trial and error. But I forgot to mention one more thing. I think that maybe it will drive it home even more as to why I niche in that space. I'm also a certified nutritionist. So I went back to school after I resigned from my pharma job, and I became a holistic nutritionist. So I just feel like I have the best of both worlds. I have a great view on what medical, traditional modern medicine looks like. And I also have a holistic view. So I'm able to help clients who are in both space, the holistic community as well as the Western medicine community. So I have clients who are physicians. I ghostwrite for them. I also ghostwrite, as you said, for software companies who are trying to sell into the pharmaceutical space because they want to have the expertise that I have, or want to tap into my expertise, my knowledge of the industry and what's important to that segment, because it's still not so straightforward if you're
Yeah.
trying to sell to that giant industry as a whole.
You touched on a big topic for a lot of people. It's at what point do I quit my job and focus on this
Mm-hmm.
new career path? And for me, like, I was in kind of a non-traditional space anyway, working for a startup, and any income that I was earning on the side was kind of like a great thing for my family, because I kind of
Exactly.
I've kind of chopped myself into a corner. I'm wondering, you were in pharmaceutical sales, which I'm sure can be a good industry to be in. At what point did you decide I'm gonna quit this career path and focus exclusively on this new freelancing angle?
It took me a year to gather my courage. So I started freelancing in 2016 and I quit in 2017 at the end of the year. But I also, it's very strategic with me because once I quit, I went back to school. So I did the nutrition um, education or a nutrition school, but I was freelancing the whole time. So it's really, I'm so grateful to freelancing because it gave me the courage to see that, yes, I can create value for people. And yes, there are plenty of people who need my skill set and my services. And that confirmation was life-changing. So absolute life-changing. I don't think I would have had the courage to quit and leave a six-figure job with no assurance in some way that yes, I can make money, right?
Yeah,
Outside the corporate world.
yeah, that's even a bigger leap is to quit your job and go back to school, which costs money,
Exactly.
and maintain freelancing. How are you able to juggle all of that? I mean, just obviously working a lot, I'm assuming.
Yes, it's definitely, and just like you, I have children, so it's always been a challenge. But you
Wow.
just do what you have to, right?
Yeah.
Like um, obviously often we stress out or we get frazzled, but that's the good thing about being a holistic nutritionist because I preach a lot of good things that I tell my clients, so I also try to apply it on my own life and try not to get overwhelmed and just embrace the moment and just take things one step at a time, right? It's
Yeah. I
not.
mean, one of the biggest challenges I think that a lot of people may have, myself included, going from just getting started, some initial success as a freelancer to this is my career path, is you've got to batch up multiple clients and keep all of them happy. I've
Yeah.
personally found it's best to have, a dozen or so kind of go-to clients that you just keep doing things for, and then additional clients come along. But even then, if you've got 8 to 10 companies you're working for over the course of a week, you run the risk of getting frazzled and not being able to keep it all together. So maybe speak to some of your. I'm curious, as somebody that has this unique holistic perspective, and what things do you do to keep yourself grounded and avoid burnout as a freelancer?
Um, Self-care is hugely important. Like we cannot put our career first. You
Mhm.
gotta put you first because if you're drained, you cannot provide value. So it's kind of like um, the eternal challenge for most people, right? Because especially when you're a parent, you always do things for your family and you always feel the constant pressure of having
Yeah.
to provide financially. But having a strong morning routine is super helpful. Maybe just not even maybe even during the lockdown, like going for walks, right? Like most people literally they take it literally that you cannot leave your home. It's the biggest no-no. I tell my clients all the time, like you gotta get outside, like you gotta just block time on your schedule to take a walk and get some fresh air and some sunlight. Like that's a non-negotiable for me. If I
Yeah.
don't go outside, that's not gonna be pretty, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then I'm very blessed because I live on the central coast of California. So there's a beautiful beach nearby. So if I'm feeling tired or burnout or overwhelmed, I just go take a walk at the beach and everything will just go
Yeah.
away, right?
That's awesome.
What's your trick? You do something like that?
Yeah, I've tried many different things. I'm a big believer in the morning routine personally
Mm-hmm.
as well, and I've been tweaking that over the years. I've gone through phases where I try to get myself up out of bed like at a ridiculous hour and try to have a lot of time, before the kids wake up. But the kids always seem to wake up earlier and earlier,
Exactly.
so I'm not sure how well that works. But no matter what, I mean, personally, I try to find in the morning, I try to ease into the day and find time for prayer and
Mm-hmm.
personal time. And then I've been trying to kind of filter out a lot of the negativity that's in the world and, be aware and that sort of thing, but really be careful what comes into my brain lately.
That's huge.
Really trying to stay positive, and, especially in these times where there's so much negativity anywhere you look. And
This is a great point, what you're mentioning. I
yeah,
love it. I do that as well. I'm very picky as to what information I allow to
yeah,
come into my mind, or I don't want to give them the power to impact my mood, right? Or
yeah.
my emotions. That's super important. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
It's a challenge to do too. You want to be, like you said, you want to be responsible and you want to be engaged and understand what's going on in the world. But at the same time, you have to be selective. And so I'm really trying hard to do that and implement that more so going forward. And just in the morning routine, one thing that I've been trying to do, actually as part of putting good things into my brain, I've signed up for an audiobook subscription this year, which I've really found helpful because I'm listening to a lot of like positive, uplifting business related books. And one of the tips that I just got out of it recently was, what I used to do, actually right here, I have my planner. I have a paper planner that I do, and I would recommend it. And maybe I'll post a link in the show notes. But what I used to do is I would wait till I get into my office room here to fill this thing out. I would say, all right, here's what I want to focus on. Here's my goals. And just in the last week or two, what I've been doing is after I go through my normal routine, my prayers and all these exercise, I'll come back and I'll sit down with this planner in the morning before I even step foot into my office and just say, all right, what are the 3 big things I want to achieve today? What are the main client things I have to do today? And I found that just in the last week or two, that's really made a big impact for me because it helps me stay excited and really focus on the task at hand as opposed to just jumping straight into email. And then I've got all these crazy things that I got to worry about. So maybe a little extra tip there for our viewers. So
No,
curious
absolutely.
how you plan out your work day.
This is great. And theoretically, I should be doing that. See, right now, everything shifted with the lockdown.
Yeah.
So I have the 2 kids who take precedence over everything, right? Homeschooling. I don't know how you guys manage with your wife and all that, but everything, like I had a routine, just like what you're describing. And I would definitely, the night before, I would lay out my plan for the next day, the top 3 things that I would like to accomplish, and write them down, which is hugely important. Now this all went out the window a little bit for the time being, but hopefully things go back to normal at some point and can get some focused effort into that as well. But this is great. I agree with you. So planning should start a day before. And that's one great thing from pharma training. This pre-call planning I was always very strong with that. I would never go into a call or a discussion with a doctor without having a clear plan. So I carried that habit with me. But see, I don't even mention it because to me it's a given. Whereas you're right, for a lot of people, it's a struggle or they don't think of it and they just kind of jump into their inbox and then drown right there. And there goes your powerful morning routine.
Yeah, your inbox is a terrible way to manage your day. It's an inevitable part of being in business. You've got to answer email, but I think you've got to have a strategy for addressing those emails. And I wrote a blog article about this a long time ago that I like to kind of ease into the stress, like the last thing I'm going to do as part of my routine is check my email. I'm going to get to it before, too long, like by 8:30 or 9, but it just like freaks me out to see 40 new emails, and some of them have little nuggets of stress packed inside of things I can't.
Absolutely.
So I think you've really got to be proactive, more so than even if you just had a regular job. This is your business. You've got to stay on top of it. And I'm curious too, as somebody who has a sales background, I think one thing that's potential, people looking to get into freelancing may struggle with is being able to sell yourself. A lot of people have never sold anything. And as a freelancer, you're constantly having to present yourself as the best solution for prospective clients and then keeping existing clients happy and engaged, which is also kind of a sales thing. So maybe speak to how does that kind of sales mentality help a freelancer?
That's a great question. So I think first and foremost, people need to shed the idea that sales is bad. right? Like just get rid of that whole concept, because even though it has a stigma, I think we have to realize we sell ourselves no matter what every day. So you sell your ideas, your thoughts, you are influencing your family members, where you want to go to, if you can go to the movies and watch a movie at some point, or which restaurant to go to. So you're selling your ideas. So the same way you gotta look at your own self. So, or just like a job interview, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So I'm lucky because I have this sales background, and I'm comfortable with the idea of having to sell myself or portray the benefit that I can bring to someone or to a company. But I think the easiest way to look at this or to approach it, if you consider yourself as a solution to someone's problem, and if you come from that angle, then you have the duty to let them know that, hey, I can solve your problem. So then you can literally just put aside the negative connotation of selling as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think it gets back somewhat to how you position yourself too.
Mm-hmm.
If you just say, I'm whatever you need me to be. I'm an administrative assistant and a marketing expert and a, social media guru. You're going to have a hard time really being confident
Mm-hmm.
in that selling yourself.
So true.
And
You
I
can
think, go ahead.
No, and I agree with you, because you cannot be a jack of all trade. And if you just think about it, specialists, everybody seeks out specialists, right? Nobody wants a generalist. So it's really important to niche down. And I think once you figure out where you can deliver the highest value and what you can be excited about doing day in and day out, then you will have the confirmation coming back from clients that, hey, I'm loving what you're doing, or you're going to see those 5-star reviews. And then that will all strengthen your confidence in yourself. And that over time will allow you to confidently sell or showcase yourself and your abilities to help others.
Yeah. Did you find that when you focused on your expertise, which is in the medical field, that you were able to maybe um, be more successful from an hourly rate standpoint? Because I know a lot of clients or a lot of freelancers look around on Upwork and they're like, there's so many freelancers and I just, I don't know how I'm ever going to make an income on this. Or did you kind of have the same rate the whole time?
Great point. No, it definitely helps. If you can be a specialist in whatever area, that will allow you to be able to charge more, because the
Yeah.
perceived value is going to be greater. But I did not start at the current hourly rate that I have now. I think it was like half of that. So it was a gradual organic growth, or yeah, in that regards. But that I needed that confirmation, and I'm not even sure even right now if I'm charging enough. I'm not, but I'm comfortable with the rate I am at today, and I I like to provide tremendous value, and I want my clients to feel that they are getting what they are paying for and more. So it's kind of like I'm not encouraging anyone to undercharge, obviously, but just to be comfortable with whatever rate you're charging. And if you have a way to figure out what you need, of course, to make a living and make it viable, take all those into consideration. But you have to feel confident that you're able to provide the value that your clients are paying for, so that you can ensure satisfaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. And maybe we could, speaking of clients, hiring somebody that has a lot of medical healthcare expertise as you do, it may seem a little bit overwhelming, especially for companies that aren't, maybe they're looking to launch a product, or that they're trying to go to market in that space and they've never been in that space before. Maybe speak to somebody that's looking to recruit someone with your skills, somebody that has medical healthcare expertise, but also is, a good writer that can write coherently. Speak to some of the things that they might want to look for, and some of the questions that they might want to ask somebody that they're interviewing for a freelance writing standpoint.
Okay, so if Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the different types of clients I've been working with over the course of many years, but it really depends. But I think if you're relying on your writer not only for writing but their expertise in a certain field, then it's a different conversation. I think that, but then you gotta dig deep. So if you're just looking for someone who's gonna create content on whatever topic that's vaguely related to healthcare or medical, it's not that big a deal if they don't have industry experience. But if you're working with a client who's serving the pharmaceutical industry, or for example, um, and that pharmaceutical industry or that pharmaceutical company is trying to bring a product to market and you're helping with that, now then you gotta make sure that, hey, do you really have expertise in the field, like real life experience, because that's going to make a difference. Or do you know, or like software companies, for example, um, they really appreciate if you know the medical space before they hire someone. I think it would be important for them to um, get that from their writer, because you basically get a consultant and a writer, right? It's two for one. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not like just hiring somebody that's going to do some research and then come up with some general, facts. I mean, you're really looking for somebody that can tap into their own experience in that industry and then apply it to whatever solution they're offering, which is a whole nother thing. Sometimes people may have expertise in this case, medical or healthcare, but they can't apply that to, the solution that the client has. So I think that's another piece of it, is having, being able to ask for, or looking at someone's portfolio and seeing how they've been able to apply that knowledge to, other related applications.
I agree. You have to be versatile, I guess, in that regards. And um, but I feel for companies who are looking for talent, right? Because it's difficult to weed through
Yeah.
a lot of candidates if they feel that you have to be laser focused and you have to know what you're looking for. But I think if you're looking for a talent and it's specific to whatever field, let's say it's not medical because not everybody will be working in this field, but whatever the field is, you want to make sure that they have the know-how and the insider view, especially if you're trying to serve customers in that space, so that they will resonate. And also creating unique content these days, it's becoming difficult, right? Because I feel like when you go on Google, you find the same old
Yeah.
narrative, no matter what topic you choose. And to find someone who's able to create unique content from maybe from a different angle, or that's priceless almost in that
Yeah,
regards.
I would agree. Well, do you have any final, let's say that you're talking to someone that is thinking about getting into freelancing and they're just not sure if it's something they want to give a try. What feedback or advice would you give them to consider based on your experience?
um, Without being tacky, just do it, right? Don't overthink it. Upwork makes it super easy, and I'm sure there are other platforms as well I'm not familiar with because I've been very loyal to this platform. It worked for me. Obviously, set reasonable expectations for yourself. It's not a get rich quick theme by any means. You gotta work hard, but as long as you have your client's best interest at heart and you have the skill set that you say you do, then it will be a marriage, I guess, and that will be successful, and
Awesome.
that will pave your way to success in freelancing for sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for today, Edith. Thanks again for joining us. And everyone else, be sure to check out executiveinsweatpants.com for additional freelancing and outsourcing best practices. So we'll talk to you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.